Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's one of the most popular fighting games known to this date and had a huge hype period from its announcement all the way up to the final DLC character. It takes the formula of a fighting game and gives it the unique spin of being a platformer fighting game, for more movement and playstyles compared to the standard fighting game. It has tight controls, amazing gameplay, and it's just overall a great time, especially with friends. And the wide array of characters it has really adds to it. Though the biggest thing that stands out about this behemoth of a franchise would have to be the crossovers. There are so many different franchises involved in Smash. Hell, they sure love to brag about that.
This is the biggest crossover in gaming history.
With all this power in hand, having a ton of series and IPs and the rights to use them in game, there's gotta be so much you can do, right? Well, yeah, the stages, the movesets, the music, all are just large love letters to each respective series. Even the classic mode paths for each character try to replicate fights or characters from the games they come from. With me saying all this, how can the video possibly live to the title I gave it? Well, when you think of Smash Ultimate, what do you think of? You know, outside of the general Smash game mode, the thing it's known for. Well, there's Classic Mode, Mob Smash, Home Run Contest. Yeah, that's it. Well, what if I told you there's a certain mode that was announced during the build-up for Smash Ultimate's release date, and is possibly one of the biggest missed potentials Nintendo has ever made? One that even you may have forgotten about, even though it's right there. Well, let's dive into that. To give a little background, Smash has been a series that has existed for years, obviously, being packed with a ton of content most of the time. But out of all the things Smash is known for, trophies are definitely one that holds a pretty high place in that regard. Trophies were custom or ripped models for different characters or items from a game that is referenced in Smash, or sometimes put in there as a little nod to a game not even in it. It had details such as the game a trophy is from and a little bit of info on the side, giving background information or even just lore dumping. It was really awesome to see, and it made Smash games stick out as just that big of a love letter to gaming, even if some can be spoilers. Don't look at the other 3 ones. So with a game as big and grand as Smash Ultimate, you'd think they'd be all hands on deck for this, right? Well, they didn't exactly want to do that this time. Since there was such a heavy focus on trying to get as many characters as possible into the game, getting a ton of trophies would take forever, especially with all the info they would have to write. And as a result, we got Spirits. Spirits is the experimental game mode that was announced in the January 8th, 2018 Direct for Smash, as a new way to play the game. Basically, you got these PNGs of characters from other games that had a certain amount of power and a typing. There were 3 typings and they worked like rock, paper, scissors basically. The way you get them is through fighting the spirits, which are characters designed to be like the spirit of the character. Having spirits that you've collected be equipped, after you defeated them in battle, you get their spirit. When you have their spirit equipped, they give you special abilities and stats to benefit you in spirit battles. It's a neat idea, but that's probably what it should have remained as. Spirits are so underwhelming, it's ridiculous. Since the game came out, I don't think a single person has played the game using spirits. You know, except for those people that make those strongest amiibo videos. I think the worst part is that they completely got rid of the little info that came with the characters. You know, like how trophies did it. It's just the PNGs with a stat number and the series it's from. Which is admittedly cool for some renders which haven't had any HD releases, but overall it feels like a huge downgrade. I would love to see a cool Smash Ultimate styled model of someone like Bandana D or Shantae. Fighters that just never happened. Not just old official art or renders smacked onto a boring gimmick. And that's all it is, a gimmick. But what if I told you that this is just a small slice of the disappointing pizza pie? There's something much, much worse that is just the biggest punch in the gut of all. Something so boring and disappointing and yeah, okay, it's World of Light. In the same direct where Spirits were announced, we got possibly one of the best animated Smash cutscenes since Brawl. Everyone that was announced so far at the cliff from Brawl, ready to face off a new opponent, Galim, and a ton of Master Hands. This was super exciting because one of the great things about Brawl was the story mode. By the story mode, I mean mostly the cutscenes. The gameplay was fine, but the cutscenes were the real goldmine. Hell, someone just compiled all the cutscenes and made it into a movie on YouTube. It's super fun to see all these characters from different franchises react to each other, have their rivalries, work together, etc. And it feels like this intro cinematic delivered. Everyone using their abilities to fight off Galim's beams, but falling victim to them was awesome. It really showed Galim's power, but it also left a sense of mystery. We have no idea who this Galim person is, and how he's so powerful. The cutscene ends with Kirby surviving, obviously, and looking off at this big vast world. Wow, I can't wait to explore it. It looks so creative and fun. A lot more than Brawl's washed out worlds, honestly. Then they showed the gameplay. Yup, For what they showed, it was a huge map with spirits to fight, no levels or anything, just the spirit fights you could do outside the story mode normally, except not randomized. On the bright side though, we got a glimpse of one of the bosses, who's a returning original character from Brawl's story mode, Gallium. Gallium? Gallium. So having bosses back was huge. It was exciting to see what else this new story mode would offer, especially since it had been almost a decade since the last one, plus the anticipation of a lot of new cutscenes to watch. Then the game came out, and World of Light sure exists. When Ultimate initially came out, I played this from start to finish and 100%ed it, and my god, it sucks. Not only is there no interesting story to follow other than stop Galeem and Darkon from hating each other and free the fighters and spirits, but there's little to no personality at all, and the gameplay just revolves around walking across a boring and uninteresting map, fighting the AI spirits that, again, you can just fight whenever you want on the spirit board. It makes fighting all the spirits feel like a chore with no reward, other than maybe the skill tree that's involved. Oh right, the one unique thing about World of Light compared to the spirit board is that there's a skill tree. It's meant to boost your stats even further, you know, for harder fights. It's cool that it's there, but I often forgot about it, even though it was your basic way to level up. As for Galeem and Darkon though, they sure are antagonists. It sucks I'm even degrading them because their designs are super cool, but they are just nothing threats, and they just kind of exist for a conflict. Which, yeah, there's villains like that, but they did it in the wrong way. They're at least slightly better than Taboo, who just kind of shows up last second in subspace. So that's something, I guess. Another thing that really sucks about the spirits being the levels, you just can't replay them in the overworld. Once you beat them, they're gone, and you have no chance of being able to fight them again. You know, unless you go to the spirit board and grind using the refresh power-ups. Though, to be fair, who would want to refight a spirit? 90% of them are so cheesable. The best thing from World of Light I can think of, gameplay-wise, is... spoiler alert if you give a single shit. You can play as Master Hand. This has probably been a dream for everyone. And to have it locked behind such a grindy and boring game is such a shame. Hey, that rhymes. Let me talk about the map now. Oh my god, the map. The best compliment I can give is that the art looks nice and there's very cute references all around to games and consoles. But that's the problem. It's just a 2D flat plane to walk on. It feels so flat and boring to explore, like you're just trailing your finger across the roads of those old children's mats. Look, I get Smash is supposed to be a kid playing with a bunch of toys, but come on. There are a few gyms and shops scattered across the map, and they have little dialogue from the characters that run them, but honestly, they're never too important. I would have loved if I was able to go to a Subspace Emissary-style game and explore the worlds from different games, which was one of Subspace's biggest faults. There was little variation to other game locations in the gameplay, even if the areas and such looked really nice. Hell, I'm not too much of a Melee fan, but in Adventure Mode, they had these really cool challenges that took place in locations of different games. They did bring back bosses though, and they're pretty damn cool. I really like how much more creepy this Marks fight is compared to the original. With all the boss fights available, you'd think there'd be a way to fight them again, right? Nope, not really. The only way to fight them is through the final stretch of World of Light and through specific classic modes. It sucks to even have these locked behind game modes that people will play once and never again, especially considering the fights are so fun. There should have been a boss rush mode or something, and I'm glad I'm not alone on that. Though I guess there's technically a boss rush mode from the end of World of Light that you can replay, but it's locked behind platforming challenges and fighting dark and light versions of fighters. Plus, would you really be willing to fight 200 spirits just to have a barely existing boss rush? Don't say you would, I know you're lying. Okay, well, what about the cutscenes? Brawl was most known for the cutscenes more than anything else, and they're filled with so much charm and personality. Something like that in the modern day would be amazing. And hey, given how great the intro and cinematic reveals look, it'll be a dream come true. So how does World of Light hold up? You probably already know where this is going. The only cutscenes in it are the intro we saw in the direct, the spirits corrupting the fighters, Darkon appearing, Darkon and Gleam briefly fighting, and 3 super underwhelming and boring endings. Besides those, there's nothing that stands out in the slightest. No cute character interactions, no transition to a next part of the map, nothing. It's just you going from place to place on the map with things occasionally happening to mix things up, and sometimes there'll be a puzzle. It stings even more when you just see how good the reveal cinematics look. They're also nicely animated and they give the characters such great personalities. You can even see this in the few cutscenes animated. They're all really beautiful looking. It's just so disappointing we couldn't have more of a taste of that for the story mode. It's especially disappointing when you see this beautiful looking cutscene only to cut back to the most boring looking gameplay ever. How cool would it have been to see all these characters interact with each other's worlds through a story mode in a game where there are a ton of franchises to take advantage of? Because believe me, the length of a full game is in there and it had huge potential to be something great. But it feels like nothing but excessive padding to make sure that Smash just has a story mode because people like Subspace so much. And that's what this feels like. Subspace Emissary had completely missed the mark on what made Subspace so memorable to begin with. And I hate to compare World of Light to Subspace so much, because I don't want everyone to assume I don't like it because it's not the original. But at the same time, how can I not when the blueprints for something amazing have been right there for 10 years? I think I should clarify yet again, I don't hate Smash Ultimate. I love it actually. It's a fun fighting game with a huge variety of characters that I'm surprised are even in the game, with a ton of love letters to several series. I'm happy with what we ended up with outside of Spirits mode, even if it feels like it's super lacking in the single player department. I'm not going to fault the development team or anything for getting the story mode wrong, because they still did an amazing work on the game and its feel and everything. It's clear the story mode was a second thought, and what they focused on more was making sure that they got every single character right, which they did, for the most part. I guess I'm just disappointed that something fans have been wanting for years just ended up being a huge forgettable mess, both in story, charm, and gameplay. Maybe in the next Smash game, whenever the hell that is, we'll get something that'll be on par with Subspace in its cutscene and story and whatever else it had. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you kind of agree with me, hopefully. Maybe. Also, Pyre and Mythra were the worst DLC addition.